Okay. Okay, since it's about 5:32, we'll get this Committee of Adjustment meeting going. We're here today for the Committee of Adjustment meeting, and we have a little bit of, I guess, clerical stuff that we have to fix up first. We need to appoint for the Committee of Adjustment a chair and a co-chair. So I have a motion here, and if you would like to appoint somebody, then we can get this going.
I guess my first question is, typically, in the past, who has been the chair?
In the past, it was Joey Trim, because he was on the planning board.
Okay.
Does all of council make up the entire committee, or?
Yes, all of council makes up this entire committee. In the past, I think there was only 4 members, but this council has decided that all of council will be on the Committee of Adjustment. So I have a motion here, but you never give me a chair or a co-chair.
Are you seeking nominations?
Well, I'm seeking somebody to come up forward.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, there's not very many meetings, but then you might have to change the mover. But
yeah.
I mean, if nobody else is coming forward, I'll throw my name in the hat.
Can I get another mover for this? Yeah, just
cross me out.
Yep. So, be resolved that the Committee of Adjustment, as directed by legislation, appoint Charlene Jackson as chair and Kathy Reger as co-chair for the term of the office January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2015, and has been moved by Terry Miller and seconded by Chris Olmsted. All in favor? So now I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, did we want to send those motions around? Moved by Chris Olmsted, seconded by Darryl McLaughlin. Be it resolved. Sorry, I should do this one first. Which one?
No.
Call to order. You've already done that. Appointment secretary. Yep. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment is, as directed by legislation, appoint Doug Schultz, Chief Building Official, as Secretary Treasurer, and Hope Dillabo, Deputy Clerk, as Recording Secretary for the term of office January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2015. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Approval of minutes. Moved by Reeve Miller, seconded by Councillor Reger. Be it resolved that the minutes of the previous Committee of Adjustment meeting dated August 13th, 2014 be adopted as circulated. Any discussion? Councillor McLaughlin?
Just clarification, does the person have to be there at the time of the minutes to move it? I thought they did, but I'm not sure.
No, they don't.
They don't.
Okay, then I guess at the airport commission, we were wrong, because that's the way they did it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Okay, minor variance application A2, 2015, Zenith Boudoin or Boudoir? How do you say that? Boudoir. And I'll leave that to Doug.
Okay, we're here today to listen to minor variance application A2 2015 for Zenith Boudoin, and it's the property location is Westmeath Concession 2, east of Muskrat Lake, part lot 13, geographic area Westmeath, township of Whitewater Region, and the property is located at the corner of the Beachburg Road and Sign Line. The purpose, we want some relief. Mrs. Boudoin wants some relief to be able to build a house, and the dwelling is going to be closer than minimum separation distance of number 1 to a livestock facility. The owner is looking for a 25-meter reduction in distance. The distance proposed would be 225 meters. So what happens is in our zoning bylaw, before any house that is built, they have to go through an MDS separation distance. And when we did the separation distance with Mr. Mackay's, Mr. Mackay's or Mr. McKay? Mackay's barn, it come up that the distance had to be 250 meters. So Mrs. Boudoin would not have any property to build a house on it. So if she takes a 25-meter setback, less than that to 225, then there's enough area for her to build a house on that property. The property that she has is probably, I think it's about 10 acres or 12 acres in size. I'm not exactly sure. 5 acres in size. It's a 5-acre lot on the corner, and it would be right at the back of the railroad tracks where the house would be created. The septic system could be closer. It doesn't. The septic systems aren't required to do MDS separations, but the house is. And we have Mr. Mackay is here, and Zenith is also here today. So if anybody wants to speak for this or against it, we would give them a chance now. Yes, do you want to come on ahead up? Smile, you're now on camera.
I live on the corner of the design line, and I'm the guy that has the livestock on the other side of that road. My name is Rick Mackay. Yeah. We have a mixed farm operation. We have 50 cow-calf. There's approximately 25 heifers that we retained from last year that are in the yard now, which will go, but we'll have cows calving very shortly. And there's a bull here, and there's one that we purchased, so we'll have 2 bulls too this spring. So, we sell export hay, and we also do some cash crops. So. Anyways, I'd just like to start by saying that this is nothing personal to Zenith Boudoin. The bylaw 9813 was put into effect to ensure there's a proper distance between livestock and residential homes, and for obvious reasons. Our animals are housed in the barn during the winter months, and our housing in the paddock by the road comes spring. Thus makes them much closer to the proposed lot lines. We also store manure in the same paddock, which may trigger nutrient management minimal distances if someone wants to build. There's also 2 other barns near the said property where there are no animals at this time, but if there were happening. We need to keep in mind that those barns could house livestock tomorrow or next year, and then the said properties would have livestock on 3 sides of it. We have 100 acres of land, and if we wanted to sever off a lot, it would not be possible because of the location of our livestock and the neighbor's livestock up the road. I think we all know the instances where farmers have been put into situations where their livestock and their existence have been threatened. The adjacent farm to us, owned by Mrs. Boudoir's brother, Colin Kidd, experienced firsthand what happens when a residential home is built near the farmland. Mr. Kidd operated a sawmill and employed several people, and the homeowner beside the farm complained about the noise and the startup times. After several years of countless dollars to try to rectify the situation, Mr. Kidd shut the sawmill down, losing his and his employees' livelihood, and the homeowner then sold their home and moved away. In Canada, in the last 100 years, there has been 60% less farmers. Consider our farmers feed us. We should be doing everything, whatever we can, to ensure we don't lose any more. Residential homes are steadily encroaching on rural farmlands, and for no other reason than financial gains. If the council decides to go ahead to allow this variance, I would hold them accountable for any or all financial or emotional costs due to the issues regarding noise, smell, etc., and that was most certainly arise. My family and livelihood in Ontario Food Source depends on my farm being operational. We have lost thousands of beef farmers over the last several years and hope that the council will stand behind our farms and protect our rural land. Thank you.
Just before you go, does council have any questions for Mr. Mackay?
I have a question with regards to the other barns. How close are they located?
There's a barn just across the creek from the property. What would it be, Doug? 100 yards?
If either of these other barns would have livestock in them at the present time, there'd be no room to build on this lot.
Have those barns ever housed livestock, and could they house livestock?
2 years ago, Colin had 4 or 5 cows there on the farm just adjacent to the property that wants to be Mrs. Boudoir owns.
So occasionally there has been livestock housed there.
Yeah.
Councillor Olmsted?
Would the people owning these other farms need any sort of approval to put livestock back on those farms, or is it they own the farm now, the barn's there, they can put them there whenever they want?
They do own the farm, and it is an operation and a farming operation, and yes, they're probably set up to house livestock at some time. One barn on the far side is Donnie Matthews, or was Donnie Matthews
Donnie
at one
Matthews,
time?
yeah.
Where he used to sell hay out of, I think, and stuff like that.
Yeah, but there was livestock at that one time on that barn too, because David had pigs in that barn. Yeah.
Any other questions? Councillor Rigger?
So if this did go through, there would be a problem then. If there was a house built there and say Mr. Kidd decided he wanted to put livestock back in that barn, he would no longer be able to. Am I correct, if there is a house now sitting on that property?
Well, when you have livestock a property there, it has some rights yet. It always was a barn, and that how many cattle he could put in there, or if he wanted to enlarge it, then yes, it may have effects on it. Say he wanted to, maybe his barns would hold 25 cows, and then he wanted to enlarge it to hold 100. It could have an effect on an enlargement of an operation.
Councillor Olmsted?
My questions are going to be directed at Doug, so can we let Mr. Mackay?
Thank you, Mr. Mackay.
So, the question for Doug. I see that the bylaw is an Old Westmeath bylaw. Now, do you know, are those bylaws consistent for Westmeath, Cobden, former Ross, Beechburg?
MDS is consistent for every township in Ontario, because it's a provincial policy that has been sent down. MDS has been created to help keep problems away from farmers with manure and complaints.
MDS is minimum distance separation between, so everybody knows.
Yes, it is in the zoning bylaw, and they are in every zoning bylaw that we have right now.
First want to say that's my, First want to say my brother, but I still feel I should be able to vote because I'm voting for farmers and not necessarily, I don't even like my brother. But I want to bring another point out. In the spring, they have over 100 head of cattle in that paddock. So not only the barn, but the spring of the year, there's a lot of cattle sitting there right across from that lot. Just your attention.
Reeve Miller?
Yeah, just for clarification here, so we're talking a 225-meter setback where you require 250 by the book. Is that clear? Is that what I'm seeing here? Proposed setback 225, relief requested 25 meters. So it's a 10% variance, eh?
That's correct. When the way MDS has worked is that we put in the number of cattle, and it gives you a setback of how far dwelling has to be away from that barn or that livestock. And when we put the number of cattle in of 100 head, it come back that the dwelling would have to be 250 meters. So the relief is 10%.
And normally in other municipal situations, would these be commonly go through? Like, is 10% really a big deal on this, guys, or how does it work? Like, you still got 225 feet here.
As a minor
Or
variance,
meters.
10% is not a big deal, but the issues that are brought to our attention, we have to look at.
For sure.
Yeah.
I guess I have one other question for you, Doug. So what you're saying, though, is if those other barns, and typically if there are barns that are able to hold livestock, either that capability has to be removed or to allow the minor variance. Like, in my opinion, the MDS, does it not account for barns that are in existence, even though there may not be livestock in it today, but there could be livestock in it at any time? Is my question, I guess. I don't understand why that hasn't been taken into consideration.
No, if there is no animals in the barn, then that operation is not being looked at this time, and it's only when there's livestock there. Because some farmers will have a barn and they maybe change it to a storage shed, and stuff like that. So there has to be livestock there for us to do MDS for it.
One further question, just with regards to that. So in the summertime, when there's no cattle in the barns, what do you do then?
MDS is for where livestock is housed, not for pasture or stuff like that. It's just where livestock is housed. So if there's no cattle in the barn, if we brought this sheet of paper to the Mackays, they would say, we have 100 head of cattle here, they're here in the winter, we have to do MDS.
Sorry, Councillor McLaughlin?
Well, I'm much like Councillor Jackson, like, this is bothering me because now you're telling me you're putting a restriction on the gentleman that has the farm there with the buildings, saying he can't enlarge them, can he go ahead and house cattle in there if he wishes to?
He could house cattle if he wishes to that capacity what the barn is. The barn would not lose its legal non-conforming to be operated as a barn.
For Homestead.
Sorry, I have two questions, Doug. One is, do we know, was this property purchased for the sole purpose of building on?
No, I think this property has been in the family for quite a while.
Okay. And second question is, so this is done by a calculation for the average number of cows housed in that facility at any given time. So if you entered the number of 90 or 80, does it drop that number significantly?
No, not significantly. I think there's a magic number out there because I entered the number at 50 and it still was 250 meters.
Okay.
So I think there's a magic number where the Ministry of Agriculture says, hey, this is where we're going to start.
Okay. And last part of that is, do we have proof that there is X number of cows being housed at Mr. Mackay's facility?
I'm just going by what Mr. Mackay has told me, but I have seen quite a few cattle there at times.
Okay, thank you.
One other question, you said that he could house cattle in those other barns, but he'd be legal non-conforming. So we're forcing him from being conforming to legal non-conforming. Is that what we're doing?
Well, definitely we would be, if the house gets built there, it could restrict if he wants to enlarge his farming operation at any time.
Which, from what I understand from Mr. Mackay, he has, in the past, there has been livestock housed in those barns before. Not that he's, looking at increasing the size of the barn, but there has been livestock housed there.
That's what I've been told.
So where do we go from here?
We can ask Senate to come up and talk about it.
Councillor McLaughlin?
I'm just wondering, has anybody approached that landowner? Has that happened?
We have not approached that landowner because there is no cattle in them barns at today. One is the hay shed, and the other one was changed over to, I think, a sawmill.
Well, I don't have a long speech prepared. So, but I would just like to say, first of all, thank you for possibly allowing me a little 25 meters variance. As to what's been said around here, I know the barn that used to be owned by Donnie, I've never known any cattle to be there. The other farm I grew up on, as far as those 3 or 4 cows last summer, that's because my brother had them at the lake and they used to run away on them all the time, so we brought them there and put them in like the fence. Anyway, he doesn't have cattle. So, and he's not going to start the farm, I know that. So we don't have to worry about those 2 barns with cattle being in them. There is a house, used to be McClellan's house. I don't think it's part of the farm anymore. I don't know for sure, but it's up for sale now, too. I know that. Anyway, as far as if this property should sell and somebody should buy it and maybe buy a house, the house will be back quite a ways from Mackay's barnyard. They only have maybe 10 or 15 cows up there. In wintertime, everything's froze up. You don't smell it anyway. The wind is going to blow from the east and the north, which is blowing from here across and taking any smell back to McLaughlin Road. It's not a dairy farm, so there's not a holding time to be concerned with. Odors. Beef cattle are on pasture all summer, and right now I think, don't know for sure, but I think the majority of these cattle are out back of the house, sort of thing.
Only for a week now.
For a week? Anyway.
There's 25 cows in the yard right now as we speak.
He doesn't have a pig farm, he doesn't have a hen farm, so, like, I'm a farmer, so I know about the smells, but the smell from his farm is not an issue as far as I'm concerned, and, if anybody was to go up there at any given time. But anyway, whatever decision you come to, that's the way it'll be.
I have one question for you. Are you proposing to build a house, or are you proposing to sell and hopefully have somebody buy it to build a house?
I won't be building a house there, no.
Okay. Is there any other questions? So you're bringing this application in hopes to put the property for sale
Yes.
and list it as a buildable lot,
Yes.
is what your hopes are? Okay. Any questions from council? No. Thank you very much. two motions here. One is to decline and one is to approve. Do I have any movers or seconders for either of the two?
I move for decline.
Councillor McLaughlin?
I might like to put a third one in. I'd like to table this for further discussion, because I think we need to get in contact with the adjacent landowners, because that's the part that's bothering me more than anything, is the restriction that you're putting on those landowners. So that I would be willing to move that we table this so that maybe some more information could be brought forward.
Were they notified of the meeting?
Everybody was notified within, what is it, how many meters?
60 meters.
60 meters, so they would all have been notified.
So they had their opportunity to be here as well. I guess, do you have any other thing further? I just have one other question.
Go ahead.
A question for Mr. Mackay. So the barns that are in question, that we've kind of been questioning, those are Mr. Kidd's barns, they're not yours. So they're not, the only reduction is really the 25 meters that's going to affect yours, but you have no other barns closer to this property. Okay. I think that clears it up a little bit. Councillor McLaughlin.
Well, it does and it doesn't. You say they're Mr. Kidd's. Mr. Kidd could sell that farm, and then it's that person, and that's where what I struggle with.
Mr. Mackay, only when you're addressed. Thank you.
That's the part that I struggle with. Not the people that are there now, and there's never usually problems with the people that are there. It's when it moves to the next person, just like this lady here. She has no problems with it, but then she's selling it and somebody builds a house, and then the problems start. So, like I say, I would be willing to table it, but as far as approving it, no.
Councillor Olmsted?
I think I agree, Councillor McLaughlin, that it could present problems for the Mr. Kidd who has the farm, and if he is 70-some years old, that farm could very well be sold in the next few years. So I think I'd like to table it.
Any other questions? Councillor Regier?
I really don't need to table it. I think I'm clear on Mr. Matthews' property. I think I'm clear on Mr. Kidd's property. And I think at this time I too would like to decline it, and I would second that. And the reason for that is, Mrs. Boisdon, coming from the farm, I totally understand that. But if that is sold to a city person that comes in here from Ottawa and wants to move to a rural area, that is where your troubles are going to start. And I've seen it, and I've heard it. So for that reason, I too would decline this at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion on the table, moved by Councillor Mackay, seconded by Councillor Regier. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Whitewater Region decline the minor variance application A-2-2015. But do we have to give a reason?
Yes, we should give a reason.
Too close.
Too close?
Property is too close to other vacant barns. Vacant at this time. So I've just filled in, because property is too close to other vacant barns at this time. Does that suffice?
Sure.
All those in favor? All those against? So it's, when it's to decline, and it's 2 and 2, it's a no vote. But I would vote also decline it
Yeah.
at this time. Having said that, is there any way that, if it comes up at a later date, that, can this be brought up again? Or is this a done deal for a minor variance? I think everybody needs to understand that.
I think that once it's voted on and declined, it would be a done deal.
I think that's why.
Yeah. Councillor McLaughlin?
No, Councillor Olmsted has taken the exact words out of my mind, my mouth. That was my main reason to table it, because I think there could be worked out, but I think there needs to be more, some more things, maybe if the landowner, I think Mr. Kidd that owns the farms, if he was approached and something was done so that there wouldn't be livestock in there, but that's something that has to happen, can't be done tonight. So that's why I made the motion to table it, and
Reeve Miller?
Yeah, I agree totally with Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Olmsted. We should take a little time on this one and get it right. If it's final, I don't think we're prepared for that tonight. Thank you.
Perhaps we can table it and get more information, and maybe what Mr. Schultz is showing me here now is maybe bring that and put it on a slide, and actually, I don't know if you're able to do an aerial view of the proposed site, but I would definitely recommend that, and we could actually see where the other two existing houses are that are close to this property, and then I think we may be able to make a better decision with regards to that. So, at this time, we would like to table that motion. And do you want to schedule another meeting so that, Councillor McLaughlin?
okay, do we have to make a motion to table it, or can that override?
No, you would have to make a motion to table it.
Well, I would make the motion that we table this until we get some further information, and I'm looking for a seconder then.
Councillor Olmsted? Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, seconded by Councillor Olmsted, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Whitewater Region motion be tabled with regards to the minor variance application A-2-0 2015 Boyd-Doing. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, do we have a date that we can suggest to these people to come back for an adjournment of this minor variance application?
We usually have minor variance applications before council meetings, so what's the date for our next council meeting?
March 24th,
So,
25th, sorry.
unfortunately, I will be gone on a holiday on that week.
Cancel.
But what's our first council meeting in April?
Is it April the 14th?
Yes, we could have it at 5:30 before the April 1st committee, if that would suit everybody.
Is that okay? Adjourn it to April the 1st at 5:30? So moving our seconder? Okay. Yeah. Moved by Reeve Miller, seconded by Councillor McLaughlin. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Whitewater Region, dated March 4th, 2015, be adjourned to April 1st at 5:30. All those in favor? Carried. Then we need an actual adjournment. Same firsters and seconders for an adjournment. Moved by Reeve Miller, seconded by Darren McLaughlin. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Whitewater Region, dated March 4th, be adjourned at 6:06. Let me just write that down somewhere. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We just have to do another motion.
Okay, this meeting's over.
So we're going to move into committee meetings, so we'll see you again if you want to come again on April the 1st at 5:30. Thank you.
Hi, Steve, how are you? I'm like, oh, how are you doing? Good. Long time no see. Busy, no trouble.